Hello, listener. Today, I'm going to talk about the famous novel A New World, which was written by Adolf Leonard Huxley, maker. So before getting into today's topic, I'd like to give you a brief introduction of the movie and the TV series about the novel. For the movie, it was the Brave New World was brought to the big screen in 1998 by American director Leslie Lieberman Larry Williams. And for the TV series, uh, and in 2020, it was made into a TV series directed by Owen Harris. So you must be familiar with this play, right? So let's take a look at what the novel is about. So for this speech, it will be divided into three parts. It's an introduction, content, and my thoughts. The introduction. So the adult Leonard Huxley was an English author of more than 50 books, including poems, stories, articles, philosophical treatises, and plays. His works, especially his most famous and controversial novel Brave New World, serve as the social critical of the ills of our time. So, the next part is about the book introduced. So, The Brave New World was published in 1932. It is one of the most classic dystopian literature of the 20th century, along with George Orwell's 1948, 84, and Zama King's V. And the three dystopian books have had a far-reaching influence around the world. And in this brave new world, although everyone can live and work in peace, food and clothing, desire can be satisfied at any time, and there is no sorrow and pain, but human individuality, the freedom are still fight. Art and literature are purified, and even happiness and sorrow are lost. And in this imaginary new world of the future, human beings have been dehumanized, a group of slaves under the strict control of science to determine their identity and fate. The novel is considered to be Huxley's most enduring masterpiece. So, this is the second part, content. It was divided into four little parts. So, and the first part is the creation background. Second part contains the abstract. The third part is about character analysis and some keywords. The last part is a classical statement, namely the alpha, beta, gamma, theta. So the first part is let's start with the creation background. Utopia comes from the novel Utopia, written by Thomas More, the founder of Utopia socialism in Britain. It means no place or good place, which expresses human yearnings for an ideal world. At the beginning of the 20th century, the World War II and the rapid development of science and technology had broken the original silence of the society, and the intellectuals began to re-examine the profound problems of the society. Dystopian literature was born and became a powerful tool for writers to attack the dark reality. Brave New World was born in text. And for the content abstract, the story takes place in the year 2540 or the 632 in the book. In the first society at that time, the rank of all human beings was determined by a series of technological manipulations such as test tube cultivation at birth, and they only had to play roles determined by technology throughout their lives. It was a society of unprecedented peace, health, and stability. At the loss of the annihilation of literature, art, and history, and of utter emptiness. The exception is a small group of Indians who live exactly as their ancestors did, but at the cost of being electrical isolated in the mountainous wilderness of the savage reservation. Next, Bernard, a biologist discriminated against for being ugly and short, and he was determined to get ahead. He found Linda, who had been trapped in the savage reservation and had lived there for decades, and brought her and her son John, savage, back to the Fourth Society, hoping to make a difference with this discovery. And her son John, who grew up in a free environment, traveled and experienced the Fourth Society, but could not adapt to its stupidity and hypocrisy, and came forward to denounce Mustafa Mond, the supreme ruler of the Fourth Society. Bernard was banished, and John was allowed to live as he wished in isolation. But he harms himself because he disappears of the future of mankind. So, Bernard and Alpha, who has excellent genes, pedigree, and background, but he, like most of us, has limitations and flaws. Because of this imperfection, he was filled with inferiority and cowardice. Although he always grumbles, and his heart is full of reluctance and resentment. He constantly thinks to integrate into a higher social class in order to become a more respected person. Until the stage, John appeared in his world and let him get everything that he wanted, and become object of other people's pursuit and flattery. A wide range of friends with various celebrities. However, unfortunately, he always unable to face his shortcomings, with the savage will not cooperate with him. he lost everything in an instant. He was beaten back to an even worse place than before. Lenin. She is rule abiding, accepted from an early age, and abide by the social orthodox education for a long time. Although occasionally a little rebellious, small temper, small personality, but because she is beautiful, elegant, warm, most of the time, she is the most in line with people's normal, aesthetic girl, so she is loved by everyone. After she met Savage to a certain extent, she fell into the emotional inextricable, inherent cognitive, and emotional contradictions in her body intertwined into a tangle, brought her distress and unease. She also tries to use secular to seek their own liberation, to find a way to transfer their attention, do some things that make everyone happy, but always cannot break through the obstacles in your own mind. Just like every young girl into emotional vortex cannot extricate oneself in the brave new world of social background. She is just a poor little girl. Her ending also adds a sad coda to the story. And for the John is a mixture of primitive India culture and utopia culture, with Shakespeare as his guide to life. But the Indians often excluded him from her rituals. John represents the most important and complex character in the brave new world. John's desire for love is in fact the desire for beauty, the desire of eternity. The spirit of the new world, human pursuit is nothing but the fleeting desire. John rejected Lenin's closeness and the social values it represented. Finally, facing the mighty Mustafa mind, he sets out to make a life for himself but ends in tragedy. Human hearts was an anomaly in the new world. He had his own ideas about the new world and the old, and he had been brought up in the new world and did not reject the old, which was why the savage was willing to talk to him freely. Unfortunately, though he did not reject the old, he was still unable to understand them, for after all, he had been brought up in the new world, and this was reflected in the quarrel that broke out between the savage self. And in any case, Helmholtz was probably the most intellectually willing new world person to understand the barbarian, even if their cultural ideas were not so easily into. So, let's talk about some keywords which are found in this novel. First, the classes. Rulers ruled the world and ensured social stability by creating a five-tier caste system. Alphas and betas are at the top of the system acting as scientists, politicians, and other top minds, while gammas, deltas, and epsilons are at the bottom, representing the industrial working class. Different levels of embryos correspond to different methods of cultivation. Future occupation, appearance, intelligence, and even fertility are all created in a prescribed process, with finality, the traits stripped away before birth. That's the keyword is stoma. The drug, stoma, is an anesthetic that produces pleasant feelings without any lingering effect. This makes sure that no one is in pain or unhappy, and that every case will receive it free of charge. Broken whiskification. One egg, one embryo, one adult normality. But a broken non-whiskified egg will bud, will proliferate, will divide from 8 to 96 buds, and every bud will grow into a perfectly formed embryo, and every embryo into a full-sized adult, making 96 human beings grow where only one grew before progress. The last keyword, the neo Pavlovian. In neo Pavlovian conditioning, the baby enters a room filled with books and roses. Alarms and sirens go off when the baby gets close to the book or rose, and the baby receives a mild electric shock, which frightens them so much that they recoil in fear when confronted with the object at the second time. And the headphone paddy. Children are more receptive to sleep teaching than adults. In addition to receiving good education during the day, supplement it with sleep education at night. Make people love their incapable social mission. They go smoothly and orderly on the paved roads. Society is also allowed to maintain a veneer of false stability. And the last part is the classic statement. Alpha, beta, gamma, theta, and epsilon. The alpha is ending is better than ending. Beta, the more stitches, less reaches. Gamma, everyone works for everyone else. Theta, both can be like X-rays if you use them properly. They will go through anything you read, and you are curious. Epsilon. What you need is something with tears for a change. Nothing costs enough here. So, let me share some thoughts. Next, if we read it carefully, we will find that the freedom in the book is limited to the level of material desire. And it is so powerful that we can blind ourselves to the spiritual freedom of the individual. So, how important is mental freedom? Which is more important? or material freedom. It's worth thinking about. Behind others' emphasis on material freedom, they also want to arouse readers to think about spiritual freedom. So I think the utopian society in Brave New World is a false freedom. So in the New World, constitution of Xenomeas is happiness, the instant gratification of everyone's needs. That's for food, sex, medicine, and other consumer goods. But in fact, such gratification is a false illusion. It is incompatible with truth. The desire to think truth is a personal desire, but it cannot exist in a new world devoid of individuality and thought. And in the economic values of modern society, individual happiness is defined as the ability to satisfy needs, and social success equals economic development and prosperity. People are gradually forgetting what happiness really means. True freedom requires a balance between material freedom and spiritual freedom. Less obsession, freedom, but the attention to spiritual freedom is a most sensible choice for an independent individual. I hope we can cherish our present freedom and create our own wonderful life for unique value. So, thank you everyone to listen to my speech.